Good evening, everybody. It is Friday, April 15th. It is the evening. This is a little bonus episode. It's not a spiritual Sunday episode, but we are going to talk spiritual. For no other reason than it's on my mind, and for those of you who don't really get down with the spiritual, then by all means, tune out. This episode may not be for you. For those of you who do, this episode might. Now, I am on my way back from the big city after an evening of confusion. And as I drove up to the city, I was feeling pretty good. I had a good day. Started off right with the prayer breakfast. Had a nice lunch. And I decided to go to St. Sava tonight. And if I'd have thought this through, I'd have known that even though it's Good Friday in the I don't know, the Western Rite Christian, if you will, it is not for the Orthodox Christians. And I actually looked up some information on this prior to making the drive up there. And the website of the church does not have, it's difficult to find accurate information at times, and I believe I was looking at something from a few years ago. But that's all right, because I got up there. Luckily, the church was open. There was some information about the April schedule, and I took it and I sat in the church and I read. And I spent the bulk of the time driving. Well, I spent the entirety driving up there in silence, and the bulk of the time driving home in silence. No podcasts, no nothing, just quiet. And I got to thinking, the prayer breakfast this morning, I shared one hymn that we began the morning with, and I forget what it was, quite frankly. And as we closed out the breakfast, we sang another hymn together, The Old Rugged Cross. And this was a song that we've sung recently in church, and it's a nice song. And I wanted to share it later in the day on some social media and with the group as well, with you. So I looked it up, but all I found was like Alan Jackson and Carrie Underwood, some Johnny Cash versions, Merle Haggard. This is fine. And I know a lot of people locally too. They're good people, talking about the sacrifice that Jesus made, and making these public displays of, I don't even know what to call it. It's really not a whole lot different than this. I just happen to choose podcasts as my platform of choice. And my friend my church friend Andy, we went out for coffee the other day after church last week. I may have spoken about this too. And he was busting my balls a little bit about what a blessing and a curse it is to be an intellectual. And that's kind of what I found myself thinking about on the way home is that, like, I just want to enjoy and embrace, like, the Alan Jackson style of Christianity, you know? Like, I want to go to church in my nice jeans, and I want to have that time with my friends, you know, and say grace before meals with my family, and thank God for everything I take for granted. It's not that easy for me, though. I have to go deep. And I've been going deep lately. And recently, a conversation that I had with Father Joseph from St. Gregory Palamas Monastery. As we talked about that cultivation of the relationship with God, theosis, and some people being challenged with my desire to go there, for lack of a better term. And he seemed challenged with the idea that some people would even question that, because isn't that the point? Was his question to me, and it made me realize that even as I go through this path, this spiritual journey, I'm really feeling disconnected from a lot of the people that I initially felt connected with, even those within my church family. I don't know what to make of that, and I haven't been extraordinarily proactive lately with discussing this with anybody other than my friend Andy. It's a busy time of year, and I'm kind of walking my own path, exploring my own way, and seeing where it takes me. I'm getting a little bit more experiences under my belt before I have deeper conversations with people. And this feeling of discontent, if you will, is applicable in all aspects of life. It especially feels applicable with my physical realm right now. Up in the city, I like to get some kind of treat or some kind of different food, and I wanted to really experience this. I was excited, you know. I thought that this was going to be the service with some different things, but that's next Friday, and like the Orthodox Easter is next Sunday. And I was excited because I was going to do this, and then at midnight there's a midnight service. It's actually at 12:05, the resurrection service, and I'm planning on going to that. And it's actually maybe better, so I can plan my week ahead, right? But I'm gonna slow down and let this car pass, because I kind of want to finish this thought, and I want to take my time on the drive home. But one of the, so I left church. I walked in. There were people downstairs. It was the final fish fry of the season. People milling around, and I felt like going down and talking to some people, but I felt embarrassed, and like I didn't know what was going on. Not like I didn't know, because I didn't know what was going on. So I grabbed my papers and the stuff, the informational things that I could grab, and I left, and I went, and I decided that I would take a longer drive home, not take the highway, just take some back roads and whatever. And on my way back, I passed an old ice cream shop from the 50s, and I decided that I was going to get a milkshake. So I got a vanilla malt, and that left me feeling a little icky. But this morning I ran into somebody. We're actually going to be back at his farm tomorrow for the farmer's market. He's a 6th generation farmer, someone in the community that I've grown to respect and admire, for he is a quiet man. And someone who's, I won't even go there because it's just nothing but negativity, and I'm trying to keep this positive. But I feel the need to connect with this individual more. He's a member of the Odd Fellows Lodge. He's an active member, a respected member, dare I say an elder. He's not quite my father's age. He's actually much younger than my father, but he has a son who's about my age. At any rate, I need to conclude my thoughts. I'm here on the final leg home, and I guess in all of this, this confusion that I feel, I'm working it out. I'm working it out with these steps in the spiritual journey. And the only reason I was able to get here was because I worked some other things out first. Those of the faith and those of the cloth might argue otherwise, that it's more important to get your spiritual side figured out. That's okay. I think it's all dependent on where you are and what your goals are at that specific point in time. For me, I decided to select my finances before moving forward with anything else. That led me to the church, which led me here, seeking more, deeper, further. I wish I could simply articulate the struggle. I'm not even sure if I'm going to release this. Because there's really no point. Or is there a point? I don't know. Maybe I will. I feel like when I release these episodes that just ramble and ramble and ramble, doesn't really serve much purpose, but maybe for those of us who are seeking, that's exactly what we need, to know that we're not alone, to know that we're not walking this path by ourselves. You know, there's a couple things that that I've referenced in the past with the show, with the podcast. One was a devotional called Strength for Today, which was written by David Jeremiah. One is something called The Royal Path, which is a podcast, a video series where three guys break down the Nicene Creed from an Orthodox perspective. And something else that was started back around Christmas time, back during the Advent season, was these daily meditations by Chad on Twitter from a book called Divine Liturgy. I've looked that up, and it appears to be a very solid Christian meditation book. And I think as I talk through all this, I will go ahead and link to some of the things that I talked about, in the hopes that if you are a seeker, that referencing the show notes will be of benefit to you, so that material that I just mentioned, the Royal Path, Chad's meditations on the Divine Liturgy, which I will link to his Twitter feed or thread on that, as well as the book itself, and some of the readings that I've come across tonight will help you with your own journey and path towards the cultivation and relationship that you have with God. And may that help us all figure out what God's purpose for us is in this life, so that we can live it. Because if there's one thing that I've become convinced of lately, it's that a focus on what God's purpose is for us instead of our own purpose is what's really going to lead us to a more comprehensive understanding of why we're here. And with that, this is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
What can I do? The needs are many and answers a few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. That I believe in friendship and love, and truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. Make a difference and answer the call. You know the times are wasting every day, and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe